Must make for like must make it easier to get work done. You're not distracted by by anything else.
Morning walks out in the country, and then get some work done. I mean, it can be a little lonely sometimes, but I'm very introverted by nature, and so if anyone is okay with that, it's me.
Lots of farm animals.
Yep.
Keep you company there.
There we go. Yeah, got a few cows.
That's right. That's right. In any case, so we're live. Thank you everyone for joining. Apologies for the delay. Just had some technical difficulties. Thank you. Is it Zor? Is that what you go by?
Xor. Yeah.
Xor.
Either way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. No, it's a pleasure. I stumbled upon your work one day, just absentmindedly scrolling the timeline, and I didn't know what to make of it. So I knew I had to have you on the show so that you could explain it to me. But for my understanding, you visualize mathematical formulas through some sort of engine. I would imagine something like Blender. Is that the gist of it?
It's a similar concept. I have to give credit to the people before me that kind of led me in this direction. So there's this platform called ShaderToy, and on it you can create these little programs called shaders that run on your GPU. And essentially what they do is they run for every pixel on the screen. You start with the fragment coordinates, which are pixel coordinates, and then you can calculate what color each pixel should be just using those coordinates. So it's a lot of mathematics for sure. And Inigo Quilez is like the guy that created ShaderToy, and he was posting these tiny little shader programs that were generating these interesting patterns and videos and things, and it hooked me. I was always a more visual person, and so I wanted to figure out what the heck was going on and how it worked. And yeah, that explains the last 12 years of my life.
12. Okay, I it would have been like 4 or 5. I didn't realize this.
No,
Wow.
I've been at it a while. I think I started dabbling at the end of 2012. So yeah, coming on 13 years.
Wow.
But yeah, it's always amazed me at how much you can do with it. And these formulas also can apply in other contexts like Blender, as you said, or different game engines. But I try to kind of write them as agnostically as possible, that they can be translated to different contexts. They can be used in websites and software and in video games, those sorts of things. They can be used as background effects or filter effects. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of that.
Wow. Okay. So, what is the actual software that this is run through? Because you mentioned it's like obviously it's rendered by the GPU,
right?
But is it available on this site or?
Yeah. So ShaderToy is one platform that allows you to render these shaders. Another one that I like to use is called twigl.app. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Oh, you can make this in the browser.
Yeah, that's actually how I do it. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, so twigl.app is the main website that I use, and it has there's the regulation option down there, and it has several different ways that you can write the shaders. I always use the Geekest 300 ES mode, and basically what that does is it takes all of the non-essential parts of the shader out. So all you're writing, there's no generic code that you need for each shader. You're only writing the stuff that actually controls the color of your shader or the animation of it. And so that's the main platform that I use, and then it has options for exporting video directly from there. You can choose the resolution. One of the neat things about these formulas is they are resolution independent. So you can have this little shader that is 280 characters of code, and it can generate a video that is full HD or 4K or 8K. Like, you could do any resolution your computer can handle. And that tiny piece of code can still generate that. So I don't know. I always found that fascinating. You can take a small file, 256 bytes of code, and have it generate a gigabyte of video, something like that.
Yeah, and it's all web based, which is like even more incredible. 'Cause
Right.
doing something like this
Yeah, yeah.
on Blender would be, oh my, like I can't even imagine how time consuming that would be.
Yeah, it's super easy, and you can just share a link and other people can run it on their computers. Um, this is specifically just the website that I'm using is just limiting it to fragment shaders.
Oh wow.
But you could theoretically copy these codes and put them on your own website and add different layers to it, add more effects to it. This is kind of the simplified version, but it's amazing what you can do just with that. Yeah, I see that ocean shader you got going. That's pretty cool.
Because I'd imagine, I mean, the files probably wouldn't be all that big.
Yeah. Now, some of them are. One of the things that I specifically do is I try to make my code as small as possible. Not always. Like, sometimes you actually want it readable, but part of the challenge that I enjoy is just writing these tiny shaders and just squeezing as much character and depth out of it as I can. Can I send you a link that you can check out?
Yeah, by all means, you can send it on Discord there. And yeah, I mean, it looks like I just downloaded a section of the shader and only 64 megabytes.
Yeah. So the one that I just sent you here is 325 characters, which would be 325 bytes. And I was trying to go for something as close to a like a realistic video as I could in that size. So I have a lot of size constraints, but it's amazing how such a simple formula can make something that looks relatively realistic.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell just from a glance, but that is an actual 3D camera. You know, the shader here is handling ray casting, it's handling the colors, it's handling the sun, the cloud shape, the reflections, like all of that information. There's no 3D geometry, there's no textures, there's no models. Everything is just generated with that little bit of code information.
Wow. I mean, there certainly is a degradation in quality. Like when I tried opening up the that water one in my like just VLC player, there's a noticeable drop off. But regardless,
yeah, and that's why it's preferable to like render this stuff in real time if possible. When you convert it to video, it's going to lose quality. It's going to go through compression algorithms. And ironically, the video will actually be a larger file than the code itself. So like that's part of what I do is I work on these things for websites, and I try to make them run as fast as possible so you can actually just run the shader directly and not have to use like a pre-recorded video.
I see. Okay, and so when you say rendering, is there an input for either Blender or some kind of 3D modeling program where we can actually enter this shader in? I would imagine like you'd be able to import textures. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to import this.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't use Blender all that much, but you can use shaders in Blender. as far as I know, they use a node-based system, so you'd have to kind of recreate the code that I've made from scratch in Blender. So it's a time-consuming process. But yeah, the concept is there. The main thing that I use these for would be like for a game engine. You could use Godot or GameMaker or Unity. Any of these game engines, it would be fairly straightforward to just copy that code, put it in your game engine, and use it as a background. Yeah, and you found my page, but yeah, I've got all sorts of different effects. Yeah, that's another one. It's got
A dither?
like
Is that
from
what
a
it's called?
yep dithering, and then like a volumetric lighting, which is not normally something you can do in a tiny piece of code like that.
Well, even
That
even the landscape, that's all still generated from the
yeah,
shader.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So in that case, there's actually two shaders. You're in the image tab, and then there's also a buffer A, and those are just used to create a little bit of a temporal anti-aliasing type of effect. Um,
Hmm.
so I needed a back buffer, so it renders the last frame to a back buffer and then uses that for the next frame. And that makes it a little bit softer. You know, there's only so much filtering I can do in that size. But that was a fun one. I really enjoyed that one.
And actually, as you were saying all that, I looked it up, and it looks like there is actually somebody made a repository on GitHub called Shader Toy Texture, which is
Yes.
specifically
Yeah.
made to import the textures into Blender.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. So I have used, there's a web browser extension for Shader Toy that allows you to input custom textures into Shader Toy.
Hmm.
But you can't share the shaders with those custom textures. So just generally speaking, I try to avoid using custom textures and mostly just focus on the code itself, and have the code generate as much as it can. That right there is one of my oldest shaders from 2015. I'm curious if that's might be 10 years old now. Yeah,
If you
let's
look
say.
close enough, you can see like the lines where the rocks split, but it's hard to tell
Yeah,
from looking at the image as a whole.
yeah. Yeah, so it's funny looking back at this code because like it's clear to me now that I didn't know what I was doing.
Looks
And
very
I was,
convoluted.
yes, it was, in those days that I wrote a lot longer of shaders, it worked. I mean, it did what it needed to. Um, I was 14 at the time when I wrote that one. So,
Hey, that's not bad for tech back then,
yeah.
especially. I mean,
Yeah, and I think shaders were relatively new. Like a lot of people, I mean, shaders have been around for a while, but a lot fewer people knew about how they worked at that time. So there weren't a lot of tutorials or guides to go off of. Yeah, this one was inspired by one of the SpaceX launches. I think Starship 6 or 7.
oh,
Uh, yeah,
that went up
it
into
crashed
the
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, burned up, and I just thought, that would make for a cool shader effect. So there's that. And so yeah, the orange there, the orange text, those are
That's
all
all
comments.
nodes. Yeah,
Yeah, and literally, like, if you remove the comments, it would just be a tiny piece of code, that generates all of that. And it's hard to explain like how these work technically because of how many layers there are to it. I'm constantly developing new techniques and new approaches for how to create these effects. And so, yeah, explaining all of it on a technical level, I'm kind of explaining like years of my development. But that's kind of what I have my tutorials for, so I can explain longer form.
What language is
Um,
this even written in?
this is GLSL, so it's a shading language. It's fairly similar to C, but it's a fairly high level language that runs on the graphics card instead of the CPU.
Hmm.
So what makes it unique is that all of the pixels are effectively calculated at the same time. It's not sequential. Like on a CPU, when you're writing a program, it's going to go one step at a time in an order. And then on the GPU, you have it calculating all of the pixels on the screen simultaneously. It uses the same formula just with different inputs, like a different position, pixel position, and then it calculates the colors from there. So yeah,
Very cool.
I can nerd out for a while about all that.
No, by all means, feel free. That's what this space is made for. Um, so how do you even begin to get into something like this? You mentioned off stream that it was from a love of video games. That's where it really
Yeah,
all started for you. But yeah,
yeah.
just say more
I
about that.
think yeah, I think that's what I can say. Like, if I probably the best place to start is with video games. The reason, so these programs are typically called shaders, and they were developed originally for shadows in like video games or graphics rendering. And that was kind of the original purpose to the graphics programming. So that's probably like one of the more intuitive ways to learn about graphics programming. You start with a specific effect that you want to create in your game. You want a little bit of lighting on your character.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you get the hang of it and you can start doing more effects, just post processing effects. So a lot of video games may have like bloom or blur effects or chromatic aberration. And so you can learn these things step by step. And before you know it, you have a much stronger sense of the math, and then you can start doing more complicated things. So these effects that you're seeing on Shader Toy are unique. They're not necessarily something you're going to see in a game engine, because you would typically, in a game engine, you're typically applying a shader to a specific object. Like you're going to have a character and you want them to have unique lighting formula. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
these shader programs that you see on Shader Toy are just generating everything that you see on the whole screen. It does all of the ray casting. There's no geometry. There's no 3D models, or a lot of the times there aren't textures either. And so you have to handle everything inside the shader. So these are more complicated than you would see in a game engine. That's why it's ideal, I would say, if you want to learn shaders, and you're passionate about games, which I think a lot of people are, then you start with video games and figure out what you want to achieve, and then you start finding ways to do that. And there are a lot of fun effects that can be done. You can do fire effects.
Whoa! I didn't realize I could control where I'd actually see.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's an old one. So most of the popular shaders that I have on Shader Toy are also ones that I've written years ago. Yeah, that was 2016. So yeah, I was 15 at the time when I made that one.
And this one is actually randomly generated. I don't think is there.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. There's not a pattern that I could predict. Very
Nope.
cool. I mean, look, it's
so,
not Unreal Engine. This is like more like Roblox level graphics, but
right.
that doesn't take away from
right.
how
And
cool it is.
from a technical standpoint, it's also it's interesting that there are no triangles on the screen. There's no it's all done through a type of ray casting called ray marching. And so It's not quite like what you would see in a video game. Everything is perfectly round. Like if you zoom in up close to the shape of the object, it's still circular and smooth. There are no triangles to be found anywhere. So that's probably a detail that most people wouldn't really notice or care about, but to me, I find fascinating. I'm not sure why you can phase into it like that, but
Well, I was gonna say just as proof, like, I mean, I am having a hard time seeing any level of graphical degradation at
right.
all. It looks like this thing is made out of a trillion polygons.
Yep, exactly. So that's one of the benefits of this technique. If I was writing this in 2025, I could make it look probably pretty close to like Unreal Engine, um, with effectively the same techniques. Um, but I don't really do a lot of those like tech demo type of things, because it takes a lot of time, and so I guess the closest I get is with the tweet shaders. I'm doing as much as I can within 280 characters, but that's way more approachable than trying to do as much as you can in 4,000 characters. Like, I could do a lot in 4,000 characters, but it would also take days to complete. So part of the fun that I have with these is in using constraints, like making what I can within a tight boundary. Yeah.
I'm concerned that this is giving me lag because I recently got an RTX 4070 card with like a new processor and like 64 gigs of RAM. I guess it's just because like the
Wow.
browser, like that's the bottleneck here. It's just not good
We'll say
enough
that.
to show this on full screen. I mean, I don't know. Like why why
Yeah.
is this
What
so intensive?
resolution? What
1920 1080.
resolution?
I'm not even doing 4K or 2K. This is just
Hmm.
HD.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that would be surprising. It shouldn't be that intensive. But yeah, there are definitely techniques that you would use if it were in a game engine. There are methods that you can use to make it run faster. Um, but when you're using something like Shader Toy, you have to do all of the steps yourself. Um, you have to handle the 3D camera and the raycasting, which adds a lot of complexity. So if I were doing something like that in Unreal Engine, I would probably use a flat plane and then actually just like move the vertices with the shader. So there would still be triangles there, but it
Yeah,
would
on
run a lot smoother.
as I'm viewing these, my GPU activity is at like 50, 60%. I mean, I'm also like multi-streaming to like 5 different platforms at the same time. But the
Yeah,
moment that I click full screen, it goes to 90%, which is
that's
insane.
wild. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Very cool. And it's all
Yeah,
in a browser.
yep. And this is one of the ones that I created when I was first experimenting with small shaders. Like I was just starting to learn how to. It's not exactly like the smallest shader it could be, but it's still only 659 characters. Um, so that's relatively small for the image that it creates. Um, you could use a little bit more detail with more code, but I felt like that was a good balance between the amount of code and how it ran on the browser and how it actually looked. Because like when you're writing these shaders, there's a lot of different factors that you're trying to balance. You're trying to balance the performance. You're trying to balance the art appeal, like make it look visually appealing, and then also like code size and complexity. You don't want something that is 2,000 lines of code just to render.
Hmm. If system resources weren't a constraint and you could make the shader of your dreams and everyone can view it in HD, 4K, what have you, do you have one in mind? Is that even a thing?
I think honestly it would be something to do with caustics, like if you have a glass object and light is refracted in it, you get all those light patterns that are projected onto a table.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that. Those ones, that is one of the hardest things you can do in computer graphics. Um, People fake it all the time. Like in video games, there are all techniques that people use that kind of project like a texture on the ground, and
Yeah, like a
it
rainbow
looks
texture,
close
yeah.
enough. Yeah, it looks close enough at a glance. But like, I would love to do that the real deal, and that's very very hard to do. So yeah, if constraints were not an issue, I think that's probably what I would go for.
I'm guessing it's because it also has to factor in not just the path of the light, and chances are it wouldn't be with something static because
Hmm.
um,
Right.
you would need the light to move at some point. Um, but also the density of the thing that the light is passing through, how it's
Right.
actually not uniform and it
Hmm.
changes as light passes through the object, which gives it this shape. So I
Yeah.
feel like
It's
that's if I were a betting man, that's what I would guess.
yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, and you also have to factor in the angle that the light enters the object
Hmm.
and then the angle that it exits. Um, and that can, if it, like in the example of a cup, it can enter and exit multiple times. So there's, it's very expensive to actually calculate.
I'm curious to see if
Have you
anyone has already tried to make it.
Yeah, there definitely are examples, but they're not very good, most of them. Yeah.
You were gonna ask?
Have you seen my shader arsenal?
Your arsenal, by that you mean like your collection?
Yeah, I have a website specifically. I'll just send you a link there. I call it Xor's Shader Arsenal. And it has about 349 shaders that I've written. And these are all shaders that are 280 bytes of code or less. Um, Completely random themes, all sorts of things. Like I did a Star Wars one with the Death
Hmm.
Star. Um, yeah, and then when you click it, it'll take you to the original post with the code that I have. Yeah, that was one that I was trying to mimic Sam Altman's post.
I don't like that
With
he's
Vader.
posting that. I don't that
It
doesn't
was
that doesn't make me feel comfortable. I don't like that,
it
Sam.
was it was very unsettling for sure. I'm not sure what his message was. Like, are we the good guys or the bad guys? Either we're the ones getting obliterated,
Yeah, are we
or
are
we're
we
the ones
peering?
doing the obliterating.
Are we peering from a rebel base, or are you basking in your glorious build? I don't like the implications of this.
I know. I thought it was funny, but yeah, I couldn't help myself and try to make a little shader. And of course, that kind of looks like the 90s graphics. But when you consider the constraints that you're working with, and my goal is with the code that I share, I want it to pique curiosity. Like I want people to look at that and go, "Oh wow, that's interesting." And then they see the code and they go, "Wait, that's it? That's the entirety of the code that handles the lighting, 3D geometry, the clouds, like all of it."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
But yeah, I've made quite a collection of these over the years.
and
Wild, ranging themes and art styles, just whatever comes to mind, whatever I feel like doing.
yeah, and the cool thing is that it's all open source. I mean, anyone can take this and run with it. You know,
Exactly.
it's good
Yeah.
if they give you credit, but like realistically, um,
Right. I've
they
seen
can
them
use whatever they
showing
like.
up. Yeah. I've seen them showing up in all sorts of different places, and I don't know. Yeah, I just think it's fun. My hope is that it will draw people to my tutorials. Like, like if you want to learn how to do this, then I do also write tutorials explaining like the techniques that I use. But you don't have to. You can go wild with it.
Do you sell any
And
of these?
then,
Because I know that some artists will sell like texture packs and whatnot.
yeah, I have recently
Oh,
done some licensing. So some people will want to use it in their video game background effect. And so then I will offer a licensing plan and we negotiate and figure out what works for their game. Eventually, I would like to create like an actual licensing platform on my website so that you could. So it's a very streamlined process. Like if you want to use these in commercial products, here's how you do it. But as of now, it's just been a case by case thing. If someone wants to do it, they message me and we write up an agreement and we get it done.
so
But
how do
yeah,
you go about? Sorry, finish your thought. I'll save the question for after.
okay. I was just gonna say, like, I do these for fun primarily. Like, I would do it for free anyway, but it's just nice. Like, if people want to actually use these as in their projects, I'm happy to do that.
Hmm. And so how do you go about placing a dollar value on something like this? Art is, I mean, fickle thing to put a dollar value on unless you're one of the greats, then it's sky's the limit at that point. But for digital art, I find artists have a very very varied range in terms of the dollar amount that they put on their work. But
Right.
for
Yeah,
you,
it is. Yeah. And I don't have much to compare to, but mainly I go off of what licensing contracts and stuff I've actually done in the past. Like basically, it originally started with people throwing out an offer, and
mhm.
then I would go, okay, yeah, that sounds good to me. And then now I've kind of been going off of the numbers that we've done before, and so I've been licensing them $100 per shader, and then you can bundle them. So if you want to do multiple shaders, then you get a discount. But yeah, people will do that if they're using it in a commercial project and they're actually selling it. It can be worth it for them, and it's worth it for me too.
I see. And when it comes to actually importing these assets into a game or something, because I can understand how a texture gets placed. I mean, it's essentially just like flat. Well,
Right.
not always flat, but um, in the same way as when you're working with Blender, you're just adding like a surface onto an
Hmm.
object. But for a shader, this seems like it would involve more of the actual environment itself. I mean, I don't know how you
Yeah,
would.
totally.
I can
Yeah.
imagine how like something like this, like the one that you have on Station, would be interesting to place in like a procedurally generated world, but
Hmm.
um, to apply this to like, let's say, I don't know, your characters passing through a library and they just see all these like magazine covers. Like I have a hard time understanding how you could apply that to like a flat object like that, because I feel like this would be more environmental.
Yeah, yeah. So they are mainly used as background effects. They
Mm,
could be used as a background in a game or a background on a website. So that's been the primary purpose. And then whenever I license them, I also include in that a little bit of support, to help them actually get the code adapted for um, whatever context they need. And so the code, I don't just send them the code that's already publicly available. I kind of clean it up. I make it easier to read. I add variables and um, parameters so that you can adjust things as needed. And then, of course, the main benefit of these shaders is that they are dynamic. And so you don't want to just do what you could do with a pre-rendered video. You want them to respond maybe to your mouse or to interactions in the game or
hmm.
um, any parameters that you need to. You can adjust in real time. So that's the main benefit to these. They're not just static videos. And especially with like the 3D ones, you could have the camera move around. You could have the lighting change, those sorts of things.
I mean, even as standalone pieces, they are, I don't know, just nice to look at, just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And then also these are often used as a reference for my clients. Like I do a lot of custom work too, and so it helps to have like 300 shaders to draw from. So if somebody says that they want a particular effect, I can kind of have them go through my list and see if there's something more specific they want, like, you know, and kind of blend between different ideas to come up with something new. A lot of these have very bright colors because I just enjoy that. For if it's a standalone art piece, I like it when it's very vibrant. But in real world context, if it's going to be a background, it's probably going to be a little more modest and not so intense.
Very cool. Very cool. And so the size of this market, as we were talking before, not exactly a lot of people operating in this space. Is that just because of like the amount of technical skill that is required to understand a language and how to manipulate it? Um, or is there any other
Yeah.
like particular reason for it? Because like this is such a niche that I would have never thought existed before. I just assumed that like when a gaming studio or even like a web design company that they would oftentimes make their work in house. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that there would actually
absolutely.
be enough of a demand to have independent creators like yourself work on this kind of stuff.
No, I do think I'm kind of on the frontier here. Like I think that this wasn't really much of a position before I did it, but it's what I wanted to do, and so I found places where it works out. Um, but yeah, to answer your first question, I think yeah, it largely has to do with the fact that you're not dealing with one skill set. So it's not like I'm just doing art. If I was just doing art, I could use a variety of different tools and I could make my art really good and that'd be fine. And it's not just code either. It's a combination. You have to have an eye for the art. You have to have a sense of taste. Um, and combining multiple different ideas together. So I think that's what makes it a really niche skill set. It's difficult to be a programmer and an artist at the same time. And so that's kind of, yeah, that's the main thing that I'm focusing on. Is I'm trying to, I think I'm a better programmer than I am an artist still. And so I'm working on that continually, trying to improve my sense of taste and aesthetic. But over the last few years, I've definitely noticed an improvement. Um, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and so how do you even go about getting um, any kind of inspiration for your pieces? Because some artists they'll peruse old magazines or they'll just find something in their daily life that is interesting
Mm,
subject matter and they'll
mhm.
convert it to whatever their medium is. For you,
Yeah.
this seems like it's just a lot of experimentation or
Hmm.
um, I guess yeah, like maybe gaming would in some ways help with
Right.
that, but even then, I can't think of any time I was playing a game. I mean, sure, like amazing visuals. I've had moments where I'm like, oh my god, wow, I don't know how they did that, or that just looks like a really cool scene. But
Hmm.
it doesn't. It's never like translated to like, oh, like somebody had to work on like generating the sunset or this kind of
Hmm.
landscape. I always assumed
Yeah.
that it was just very it's created from the ground up and like it's basically the equivalent of like a shockwave file. It just plays on loop,
Right.
but
Yeah. I
something like
think
this is a
that's
little bit more
usually,
intensive.
yeah, I think it's an interesting, my approach is quite unique in that I try to generate as much of it as I can using mathematical formulas and logic. So I don't, it's very little of it is like handcrafted. Um, if you were like most video games, you have all the 3D models and the texturing that are pre-created by hand. It's not like you use a mathematical formula to generate the buildings, generate terrain. But a lot of what I'm focusing on here has to do with like procedural generation. Um, I think I kind of lost your original question.
Well, it's just like how do you even go about getting inspiration or any kind of
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know, influence that like pushes you in one direction or another to create these?
Yeah, I mean, inspiration comes from everywhere for me. Like I think a lot of it comes from Instagram. Like on Instagram, I found all these artists that post these cool visual effects, and then I wonder how they did it. I especially like the effects that have like multiple layers to them. It's not like they're just one effect, but it's like you have bloom on top of a fluid shader on top of this and on top of that, like multiple layers of effects. Those are more interesting to look at to me. But also everyday life too. I'll see a video like the starship one that we were talking about earlier, seeing the starship crash, and I don't know, it just looked like something that I wanted to try to recreate. Um, yeah, I think that's really what makes it difficult to. I think that's what makes my niche very unique is that it's mathematical approach. It's very technical, but it also has this element of visual. You know, I'm trying to encapsulate something visually that's beautiful to me. Um, and yeah, I don't know. There are not a lot of people out there that are doing that. I think Inigo Quilez is one of those people that he's very good visually. You know, he's very good at like creating these visual. He does more of like Disney style art pieces, and then he's able to understand the math probably better than anyone. But then, yeah, there's still different niches within that. But I think, yeah, just generally speaking, if you have a technical skill set and an art skill set, and you put those two together, you're going to go infinitely further than any one of those people could go. Like if you had just the technical side or just the art side, being able to bring those two together, it's very difficult for artists and tech people to work together. And so if you're able to be both of those at the same time, it makes you a very valuable person.
No, I'd certainly see that. Especially now with how much of a boom there is in 3D modeling.
Mm-hmm.
I myself have started to work my way towards actually doing some work for the stream and just for my own personal things, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a growing industry in a place where there's not really a lot of instruction. There's not really a lot of degrees or diplomas that you can get. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sure,
Yeah.
maybe you can go to school for something like architecture or web design, but it still doesn't quite encapsulate it in a neat little package. So a lot of people like yourself are just kind of left to their own devices and trying to figure out how to make this stuff work
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
by just
And
making it themselves.
I think my main audience first was always myself. Like I just wanted to make these things. Obviously, I have other work that I do on the side, but the purpose of like the tweet shaders is to just kind of release some of that experimentation and creativity. Like just make something whenever I have the push to do it. And that has been very good for me. Like not only in my work, you know, because it actually I have more experience to draw from, but it's also just it makes work more fun um, when I have the space to just do what I want as well. Like I think if all I did with shaders was only the work stuff, like only what I'm supposed to do, then I would get bored of it faster. But making it into something that I enjoy, a fun project. It has been very fulfilling.
I see. Any notable games or sites where we may have seen your work? Anything that that you're allowed to speak on, anyways? Because I know some people are
Yeah.
proprietary with that.
Right. Yeah. I can't talk about all of them, but I would say the main ones I've been working with Digital Eclipse, which is part of Atari. And so they had a Power Rangers game that came out recently, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita Rewind is what it's called. It's long, it's a mouthful. That was one that I did their CRT shader. So I made it look like an old TV effect. And then they are developing with Tetris as well. Yep, yeah, you got that. That's the right game. And they had a new Tetris game that they released, which also has my CRT shader effect involved. So you can even see it in the trailers there. Yeah. They will have like in some of the scenes you can see it looks like an old screen that you're looking at up close. And so
So like this
that is fun
segment
with
right here
that.
with for the background.
No, not in that. I think I can't remember where it is in the trailer, but yeah, I believe it's like an old TV effect. So it has a little bit of, yeah, kind of like that.
Mm.
Um, and then you have like the scan lines and things there. So the point of it is to make it have that original retro feel,
Mm-hmm.
um, to make it feel like you're playing on those old the very thick TVs that have the curved screen.
Yeah, the CRT.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, I see it here. Yeah, especially in this scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that
So
was a fun one.
so are you saying that this model here of whatever baddie they're fighting, it was actually initially like a 3D like model that they made, but with
Hmm.
filter with either one that you made or
Exactly.
someone else did, it applies
Right.
this look to it essentially. So it's like
Yeah.
a layer on top of the screen that is
Exactly.
meshed in between all
Yeah.
the other layers, and that's what it gives it that look. But initially it is built as like a 3D model basically.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
I see.
And one of the things I really like about what I do is that I don't have a lot of collisions with the other parts of the game development. When I work on something, I'm work. Oh yeah, you could see it right there when it said time rewind, and it has like that distortion effect.
Mm,
That was
mm-hmm.
also mine. Um, but yeah, one of the things I like about it is when you're working on a game, if you are doing like, let's say, physics for a game engine, you are very involved with pretty much everything that happens in the game engine. If you are doing multiplayer networking, it's a very involved process. But when you're doing something like the shader effects, like graphical overlays, you're able to kind of add that as a layer on top of everything else. And
Mm.
so I don't know. I really enjoy that. Stick to my lane and I can do that really well. And not have to interfere with everything else.
Yeah, you're not worried
So,
about how it like affects the physics or what have you or any other part of the game
yeah,
design. It's just here's the filter
exactly.
that I'm working on for you guys. Use
Yep.
it
And you
to
can
whatever
apply
you
it
want.
to anything. And they have taken it out for the Power Ranger game, and they are also using it in Tetris, and another game which is coming out eventually. So like it's super cool to be able to work on that and use it in multiple different places in multiple different contexts. Um, and it's also a high honor to be able to work with Atari, one of the original game developers, and uh, such big name games like Tetris is awesome.
I think it's well, at least they came out with it in 2024. I don't know if it's the same one. It's called Tetris Forever.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah, yeah. So it also has different screen effects. I played it. You have the different screens you can go through as well, and they are all. Yep, there you go. That was my effect as well. Yep, all those different screens are controlled by that same shader.
Oh, I see. They made a compilation of all the different Tetris games. They made it like a walkthrough history type thing.
Right. Yep. Yep. You can play all the different games. It's fun. I've messed around with it. It's pretty good.
Oh, the creator's still alive. Wow.
Hmm.
I think they had some kind of not a documentary, but like a dramatization film about the making of Tetris. I forget
Mm-hmm.
who. I forget the name of the actor that played the guy that actually made it. Let's see if I can find it. I think it was Tetris. Yeah, this one right here with
I
Taron
haven't seen
Egerton.
that.
I think it is. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
came out a little while back.
That's sweet. But yeah, it is just it's nice to be able to work on something like that. It's always exciting. I'm always working on some other projects that I've worked on. I've worked on a lot of indie games, mostly like smaller indie games. I've worked with XAI on their landing page. So they
Oh,
have
really?
like yeah, that was a big one. So if you go to x.ai, yep, that's my effect. So move the mouse
No
around very
way.
yeah,
Oh,
move the
that's
mouse around.
awesome. Oh, you
See
can
that
play with the
show? Yeah,
smoke.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was a fun one. And then with Opera, the web browser, I've done a
Mm-hmm.
lot of filter effects for them. They'll have different themes, like they had one for the Venom movie. And so I did a Venom mod. I've done Cyberpunk mod. I didn't work on the actual game, but
Mm-hmm.
like the mod for their browser. And yeah, no, just a variety of different things. I've even released some smartwatch faces that have little shaders behind them on the backgrounds, and that's a fun project as well. I had a collaboration with the company Facer. Wonder if I can find that. Let's see.
How did you land the XAI project?
Um, that is a good question. It was through Twitter, just posting my shader work, and then I did that. You see the Grok shader on the top left there.
Oh yeah.
That I posted, and Elon Musk had shared it, and it got like 63 million views,
Oh wow.
350,000 likes or something. And I think that helped. I mean, I was already talking with some of the XAI people before that point, but that kind of, I think, sealed the deal. So that was exciting, sure.
Very cool.
And my next big push right now is I'm trying to get on the Vegas Sphere.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's like
Yeah.
if you're looking for a canvas, nothing beats Vegas
That
Sphere.
yeah, that's what I'm really going for. That's the big goal that I have at this point.
I mean, just imagine this
And
burger on the sphere.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd work with an advertiser to happen. So we're I'm pretty far along in talks involving the sphere. I can't really promise anything yet at this
Hmm.
point, but it sounds like it will happen. So that's the next exciting project.
They're probably gonna have to make you like go through some kind of a course to make sure that whatever it is that you're making is not distracting to drivers. I figure they
Oh
must have some
man,
kind of
yeah,
legality around that because
right.
you can't just put whatever the hell you want on the sphere. I figure it's
Right. Well,
fairly
and you
like
have
buttoned
to
down.
work with, yeah, you have to work with big name companies for sure to do that. Like, there's going to be a lot of layers to it. But I'm okay with that. Like, I really want to do it. That's kind of been a dream goal of mine for a while.
Yeah, I mean, even like having a piece on Times Square, it still wouldn't compare to having an actual like
No,
physical object that you can put
I know.
this shader on.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's amazing. And of course I'd fly out there to see it in person and
Oh, you have to.
maybe yeah, I gotta invite some friends and all that, make a little thing out of it.
Yeah,
But
I think there's a golf course that actually you can see the sphere from. So it would be great if you played around and then all of a sudden it just comes on, because I think they rotate multiple things. I don't think they just keep it as one
yeah,
thing all the
right.
time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe get a hotel where I can view it from.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Very interesting. Wow. And I'd imagine
So
that.
yeah.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say on Shader Toy, I have a variety, like the chromatic aberration thing or the bokeh thing you were looking at. Those are both post processing effects, whereas this one is like a background effect. It
Hmm.
does everything by itself. Um, some of the like the chromatic aberration one is designed to be applied in the video game or
Mm.
applied in some other context. This one is designed for like a video game. It's not like you're just gonna use this background as something. You're gonna want to use it on a dynamic background in a video game, probably. So yeah,
So
some of the shaders are built for different purposes.
is the physical landscape here with all the columns and everything, that's also generated via the
No,
code, or okay?
not this one. Yeah,
Okay.
and this one is just texture. And then I have the blur effect that's added on top.
Hmm.
It's designed to look like, a camera going out of focus. And the purpose of this effect is that you could use it in other contexts. You could use it in your own game engine. I
Yeah, I
think
figured
that's
as
what
much.
makes it, I think it makes it difficult when you don't write shaders, like to parse what does what. Um, a lot of these effects are designed to be just standalone background effects, and then some of them are not. Yeah, this one is like one of those background effects. Everything is generated using the math formulas.
There was a game that I saw on Instagram a while back. It was procedurally generated where you're essentially just running down a big hill,
Mm.
um, at like super high speeds. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. I think it's coming out soon. It's an indie game,
Hmm.
so there's not a big studio behind it, but all the terrain, everything is procedurally generated. None of it is built from scratch per se. But I figured, yeah, so the game like that could really benefit from the kind of work that you do, because it's literally right up your alley. And I think that's
Right.
where like a lot of the industry is headed. It's kind of the next, not the next. This idea has been around for a while, but it's uh, it's like the next frontier of gaming. Kind of how No Man's Sky generates planets from scratch.
Hmm.
This would be like a little microcosm of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did experiment with making my own game based purely on this fractal city scene. I was making this little first person shooter where you're like this robot and it's supposed to be like multiplayer split screen. And I sent you a link on Discord. It's just one of those things that I didn't have a lot of time. I had like 10 days to work on it. And so I just kind of posted each day my status update, what I was working on. That was the first day attempt. And I was
Hmm.
actually trying to get collisions in. The collisions were a little bit weird at first, but I just thought it was neat to like see how it could look in a video game context.
Yeah, I
But it
mean,
goes to show that.
no, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. It just goes to show that it could be used for all sorts of different purposes.
Yeah, or even levels within a game where it's the purpose of that level is so that you get lost, and
Yeah,
for a moment, for whatever set time, or until you reach a certain objective, you have to walk through this procedurally generated world where anything can happen at any moment.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many ideas that you could build around these concepts. Like, it's really fun to explore. And I've posted, multiple days of development. So that was day one. And then I just added weapons and, yeah, other things. So this, I was trying to go for like procedurally generated weapons too. You can see the collisions are a little bit weird. Gravity is probably too strong, but I refine a lot of that stuff as I go on. But I thought it looked a lot better with some color in there.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Yeah,
This would it would make an interesting idea for a shooter. My only thing would be like, how do you go about fixing the problem of, okay, well, I walked 10 steps in this direction and now I'm completely lost because the
yeah,
environment is, constantly being generated, and how do I tell like
right.
where in the
Yeah,
physical space in the game am I actually located? Like, is there a map? Like, have I strayed too far and now, the opponents can't
yeah.
even find each other? That would actually be kind of funny though, if you made a game like that where it's like, okay, you got started
Totally
at
open
random,
world.
yeah, just open
Yeah.
world, and now you have to find each other to even like kill each other.
Yeah, what I ended up doing was I added like a radiation effect. And so there is like a radiation field that kind of surrounds the players. And if you go too far apart from each other, you're out in the radiation and you start to die.
Mm.
So it kind of brings the players naturally together, almost like in Fortnite, how you have the storm. It's a similar concept.
This actually would be probably make for a great hide and seek game, I feel like.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
and make sure that the radiation is, it's not bound to a specific area in the game, but it's more
Yeah.
so like, what is your proximal distance from the seeker or your fellow hiders, so that if you do spread out too far, you start losing health, or maybe like some beam shoots in the sky and lets the seeker know where you're located.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I still am very proud of this, this game that I made. Like, I wish people could understand technically how impressive it is to make by yourself, like out as a one-man team, to do. There's so many layers, so many things happening with the collisions and stuff. It's not like I'm using a game engine that handles that stuff for me. All the physics and the collisions and lighting and models and weapons and sound effects, like everything is handled by me, by the code that I wrote. But most people won't know how much went behind it.
And in
I was
regards to
working.
actually, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was working crazy hours on this thing too. Like, I think I was doing probably, I don't know, 16-hour days, like pretty much every day to get it done.
Oh wow. Did you ever publish it as like a demo or anything?
No, no. Unfortunately, it just didn't run well enough. It was slow, so I just yeah, I couldn't get around to it. But yeah, this is showing like the menu. I actually had a version that I released after this that had like an animated menu, so it looked a little bit better. So this is technically not the finished version. It shows the general concept. I really like the lighting though. I'm very, very happy with how soft the shadows were. It just kind of looked. There's like crates that you can use to pick up weapons. So yeah, obviously a lot of refinement would be needed to like actually release this, but it's a concept.
Very cool. It reminds me of I'm in the Discord for this game. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's also procedurally generated. The graphics look straight out of Duke Nukem, like the original one in 1996.
Wow. Yeah.
It looked very similar to it. I want to see if I can. Yeah, it's called World of Dogs. Very indie. Like I'm pretty sure the guy's a solo dev as well. Yeah, here it is. It's gonna be single player. But yeah, the motion, the momentum, everything is just very, very fluid. It's meant to play as like a parkour shooter.
That's
and
awesome. Yeah.
You can get some wicked speeds.
Yeah, that looks fun already.
No, there's a gotta find the dev account because I don't know if it's this one. But the dev like makes it look like it's light work when he plays.
It's such an overlooked aspect of game development, but you really want the movement to be satisfying. Because movement is a big part of your game, and so you want it to feel fluid and feel like you're in control. That looks like a fun game by the looks of it.
There's gotta be, because he does have an Instagram. They're going through playtests right now. Oh yeah, I think this is the one.
The new enemy.
I mean, that's just this is a little bit schizophrenic for me. This is like the new age Call of Duty type like movement of crouching or crouching, and ducking, and all that. But
that's crazy fast, for sure.
Very cool. So, do you think you'll ever try your hand again at game dev? Do you think that there's still an unrealized vision somewhere in there?
I would like to. The challenge that I have is that my standards always seem to be just a little bit beyond my ability. And so, like, as I get better at programming, I want to do even bigger things. And it's hard to pace myself and, like, actually draw the line and do something that's achievable. So I've tried making games over the years many times. And usually I end up overscoping. It's a classic problem. So my preference as of now is just like stick in my lane and do the things that I'm really good at, which would be focusing on visual effects and visual things. And I really enjoy that when that's all my role is, rather than like doing everything, myself. So eventually, maybe in a few years when things settle down for me, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but yeah, as of now, I'm just focusing on doing the work that's in front of me. I got a lot to do as it is, and I enjoy doing it, so that's where I'm focused.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad problem to have. You keep shooting for the moon,
Right.
you're going to land among the stars, right, as they say. So
I keep getting jobs and stuff too that I can't refuse. Like, I don't know, like it's really exciting. Every day is exciting, and all of the projects that I'm working on are not things that I can pass up. So, yeah, this is a really abstract one that I came up with on accident. I was playing around with textures, and then I turned off interpolation, and it made everything really blocky looking. And I just thought it was cool. Very intense visually, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty. The colors and everything. And I could see that being like the background.
yeah,
or
even just like the way that like in futuristic games they'll usually have like a flat table where they like generate the map on top.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is big for
a holographic map, like in
That's
this
right,
style, would look awesome. Yeah. And sometimes you just kind of work with the artifact. Like, like this one right here. You can see it's very noisy, but I just thought it was cool. I thought it complemented the art style. So sometimes you work with it as it is. Looks like that one's a little slow too.
Might just be coming through the stream, but yeah, no, it's perfectly fluid for me. But no,
Oh,
it's
okay.
certainly intensive. Like right now, my GPU is at 75% in use. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it is a very noisy image that it's generating. So I'm sure it's slowing down the stream. But yeah, it looks. I love that one. That was a fun one. That it's generating. So I'm sure it's slow.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm looking at like what the stream looks like on Twitch, and no, it's certainly having an impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's actually one of the benefits of shaders. Like compression algorithms do not like noise. If you have anything that's noisy, it just looks choppy and terrible in video. But if you can run it live on device, then you can do whatever noisy effects you want. And so an effect like that will look really cool in person, but won't look so good in video.
By noise, you mean like all the little different particles of sand, like
Yeah,
not
like the
like
specks.
yeah.
Yeah, the little specks of dust or yeah. And then this one is another mathematical formula experiment. Just trying to create almost like terrain, trying to find a good formula that works well with terrain. And some of the numbers work better than others. That's what I was playing around with.
And so when it actually comes to considering how a mathematical formula will visualize on something like this, or just how it looks like, um, I'm guessing studying that is akin to studying like the higher levels of essentially, well, like graph math, the way that some people can make like shapes using, graphing calculators. This is just that, but on steroids.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, pretty much everything to do with shaders could be compared to a graphing calculator, but where you add some dimensions and you add some complexity. So like even the 3D scenes that you're seeing, ultimately they can be they come from a two-dimensional graph, and you use an algorithm that repeats multiple steps to kind of project that point into 3D space, where you then apply color and whatever else you want to. So it all comes down to essentially everything is a 2D graph on a screen with fancy math to make it look 3D.
I see.
I see. Yeah, but there are a lot of layers to it for sure. And it's also interesting when you think of it as a graph that takes the X and Y coordinate of each pixel, and it actually returns three different values: a red channel, a green channel, and a blue channel. And by mixing the proportions of each color, that's how you get every other shade and color. You can do white, black, red, green, yellow, by mixing those different colors in different proportions. So that is still essentially graphing, but with three different color channels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that made sense, but
no, it does to an extent. Yeah. I've always been hesitant with math. It's never been my strong suit, but I'm
sure,
getting the simplified version of it. But before we continue, do you mind if we just take a quick 5-minute break?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Beautiful. Okay, we'll be right back, guys. Okay, and we're back.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was just thinking the rendering time for this episode is going to be something else. Probably the most graphically intensive episode I've done yet.
Well, that's very well. I mean, I think hopefully I deserve that title, the most graphically intense.
Well, I mean, for
podcast.
something like this, yeah, you have to really.
Yeah.
Can't really go any short with it. That actually, it is kind of concerning for me. I can't believe that some of these, even just the web based ones, I don't understand how, like, why my system would have an issue with it. I guess because
Right.
of the
Yeah.
multi streaming as well.
It
But
could be, I mean, some of them are written in such a way that they will just use a lot of resources. Like they, especially some of the smaller ones, sometimes I use more iterations, more steps in the process to make it look cool, even at the cost of performance. Um, yeah, Shader Toy used to have this thing where you could put custom music in your shaders,
mhm.
and then it broke. And so now whenever you click those shaders, there's like this annoying pop-up. Um, and yeah, I'm not going to go through all my old shaders and fix that.
Oh,
But
still
yeah,
very
this
cool
is
though.
an example. Is an example of one where the shader is doing a lot of heavy lifting to kind of recreate the whole scene, doing lighting, rain, grass, road, um, the bokeh effect. That's like that blur.
Mhm.
I thought that added a lot to it. Kind of makes it look like a miniature scene, but I just thought that was fun.
Yeah, kind of like a tilt shifting, very similar to that.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. There was a phase where I was just learning about bokeh, and I just wanted to apply it to everything. So it was fun.
Very cool, very trippy. I'd imagine that you would also probably find a good home in the performing arts community. There was
Mm,
I can't believe I'm blanking on his name, but there was a gentleman that we did an interview with who he is a 3D modeler who has made landscapes that people would put up on the various LED signs on their set when they're performing.
really
I want to find
interesting.
his name.
My work has
Uh,
been used for like um, VJs, like the video version of a DJ.
mhm.
But I don't know that it's been for any sort of performance thing like that.
Stuzer, yes, that's right. It's Stuzer.
Oh, Caesar, yes, very talented. I've seen his work, and he even has done art pieces for uh, all sorts of bands and artists. I wonder about Muse. Kind of looks like Muse's last album picture, similar style.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. There was a recent one that he did for a performer, I think somewhere in Europe or South America, that had a show where he actually showed the setup on the
Hmm.
screens. There should be. Sure, if I scroll down far enough, I can find it. But yeah, I figured that something like that would be right up your alley because it's just, I mean, it's the same
Right.
thing. And musicians, you know, especially if they're playing to certain crowds, they love to have just visuals that are ongoing and seamless.
Absolutely. And one of the fun parts too is I could make it interactive too.
There it
That's
is.
not really a direction I've explored a whole lot. Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah, he did like the background for this.
That's awesome. Yeah. But I could do something like that for a concert and have it actually take like the microphone inputs or audio inputs and
Mm.
have the animation in the back respond to it. Like that's one of the benefits of real-time graphics. Um, it's all real time. So that would be fun. Um, I've never tried reaching out to a band or artist like that yet, but maybe at some point that would be a fun thing to try after the sphere.
Yeah, because I went to a show for this duo called Hippie Sabotage, and they make a lot of like very trippy graphics as part of their stage setup. But I noticed that a
Hmm,
lot of it was, at least it seemed like it was AI generated. But it
gotcha.
was
Yeah.
very similar to like the trippy visuals that you would have. Like, yeah, basically something like this.
Right. Oh wow. Yeah. No, I could totally do that. I'm a big fan of vibrant colors. That's one of the things that I love to play around with. So it'd be fun if there was some way to integrate the effects that I do with lasers somehow.
Oh, potentially, yeah. Because I mean, they don't just make
But
lasers that are like just a single line. It's
right,
the technology's gotten better over the years, so now you could probably do some
right,
really crazy stuff, and maybe even I haven't seen much of this. Not it's not a gimmick, but like I haven't seen many people play around with the idea of holograms for live shows. I mean, obviously, like the most
mm,
notable ones would be like the celebrity appearances of whether it's like Michael Jackson or Tupac, but this would obviously be
right.
something entirely different. But
Hmm.
um, you could probably make something with that because, from my understanding, right now with holograms, the way that the tech is at is they just have this piece of hardware that spins around really, really fast, and it creates the holographic effect.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find an example of this. Yeah, 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 like one of these.
Ah, right, right. That would be cool. Yeah, and you have like a transparent display.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am open to ideas in the future. I'm kind of taking it one step at a time and um, working on the things that are before me. But after the sphere, I'm probably gonna expand and see what other options there are out there.
Have you ever
Wow,
considered
that's
making
cool.
or working on any hardware that would be specifically tailored to the kind of work that you do?
I have briefly considered it. Yeah, it would be very fascinating to do some sort of procedural generation. Like there's this little device, I think it's called Little Guy, um, that someone's working on. I don't know if I can find it. Uh, but it looks fun. Like it's this little device that has like a face on it, and it's interactive. I just imagine like
Oh, I
doing
know that. I
something
know what
like
you're talking
that.
about.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember what it's called exactly. He's just a little guy, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I forget the refresh rate, but like this guy, I remember there was like some back and forth that he had with some big tech bro saying like, no, there's no way you could make something like that, and this must be fake, and this must be fake, and then you just showed him the different angles. Oh, I found it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I like the idea of like doing something like that, but more of like a background effect, maybe. Like imagine a wearable device that like jewelry or something that is animated and responsive in some way. Um, so I mean that would be cool. I feel like I'm very far from doing something like that at this point. Like I would need to experiment more and um, build up build up connections with hardware. But that's something I would definitely consider.
Or maybe even like wearable clothing.
Right? Yeah, with fancy effects on it. I think that'd be neat.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. I mean, you would need to have. I best I get the I guess the ideal thing would be to have like 100 of these little guys screens just daisy chained to one another so that it's actually like not just a rigid piece of fabric, but it
Right.
flexes with the body, and
Yeah.
then you just
Yeah.
combine them to
Well,
make a greater photo.
right. Or I'm just wondering like how small you could possibly make it, and if you could make like a necklace or some piece of jewelry or something that would have a little screen on it that is responsive. But yeah, I don't know. Like maybe in 5 years the tech will be there that you could do something like that. And I think that would be a really neat area to explore. I have seen some cases even of dresses that had like screens on them, like flexible screens,
Mm-hmm.
so you could change the color. So I just can imagine putting some sort of shader type of effect on it and having it dynamic and responsive. Um,
Yeah, something like
yeah,
this.
yeah, exactly.
Very cyberpunk.
Yeah, I could have a lot of fun with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've seen some like backpacks for motorcyclists or whomever. They'll have a little design on the back, but I've yet to see anybody actually go into this market and make something that isn't just meant for a runway, but something that the average
Right,
person can
right,
wear
yeah.
and make.
Yeah, it does sound expensive, like to make something like that. But I wonder there, if there's an avenue there that might in the coming years with technological advancements. I see a lot more of flexible displays, and so maybe something like that will become accessible in 5 years. So yeah, I mean that's something I would look into for sure.
Well, actually, it reminds me of I don't remember where this is, but um, definitely not Times Square. Might have been in Hong Kong, but they have in their version of the Times Square. I mean, okay, this is obviously CGI. This is like clearly made up,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
there's a place like this that has like this kind of cutout of a building, and they made it so that it looks like there's an actual like inside to it. Um,
Hmm.
just by the way that they've colored
Okay.
it out. I can't find the
Yeah, I
exact
think I've seen
example.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would also be neat if there was like a 3D display like that. Like imagine you have a screen with um physical like pixels that kind of pop out of the screen, like they move forward and back. I'm sure you wouldn't have great response time, but you could do something like that. So instead of it changing color, just changing the depth.
Mm.
Um, that would be fun also. I've seen examples of people having like a projector that projects down on a table of sand, and then it can read the depth of the table and like layer the sand like it's terrain. Pretty cool.
Do you think that because like for the stream right now, I use a waveform visualizer for like the audio feedback for when we speak into little portraits here. Is there
Right.
because when I saw this waveform music one, I was thinking, oh, like this would be really cool because that would be a major upgrade from what I have just now, which is very 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 simple. But I'd
Yeah.
imagine that you could even make something like that for
Yeah, absolutely. I've done
the
that
stream.
before. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's you could make it like glow if you wanted, or make it um more fluid looking, like a liquid splashing around. There's a lot of different options there for sure. I think audio visualizer is a big market for shader related projects because of how dynamic the shaders are. That's why I think it would be actually really cool if you could have something like that in the background that is responding in real time to the actual microphone inputs. And so it's not like it's pre-rendered, but it's fully dynamic.
Hmm. And how much of this relatively new industry is going to be or is already affected by AI? Because I would imagine with procedural generation, um, having some kind of an AI pipeline in the process would help automate a lot of this, or just make it
Yeah,
easier. Do you find that there's a lot of advancements in that form of generation, or is it all just mostly people
right.
still working manually?
I mean, that's a good question. I One of the things that I've found when it comes to AI tools writing shaders, they really struggle with the intuition for how math and logic affects the actual visual. And so you can ask like ChatGPT to write you a shader, and it will do a decent job if it's something that's been done 1,000 times.
Hmm.
But if you're asking it to do something that's new, um, even if it's something that a average programmer could do, ChatGPT has like no intuition. And so, at least as of now, the I think the AI programming side is actually weaker than in almost any other field. Like I
Mm.
would say AI is pretty good at like designing front end for websites, that sort of thing. Like you can ask it to visually change things and it's pretty good at picking it together. Maybe the code will be longer than what a experienced professional would write, but it can do it. I think with the shader stuff, it can't. Um, so I think that that is going to be a problem until you have something like artificial superintelligence. You know, I think it requires a level of creative thinking that is just not possible with large language models. And so, if they crack that code, and if it is possible to have a computer that can think very originally, then yeah, you're going to have shaders written by AI, but you're going to also have every other type of code and every other type of job done by AI too. So, yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that that's because like there's not enough players in this game and in this kind of world that you've cut out for yourself, and so there's not really as many
Yeah,
inputs for the AI to
it's
really bring
partially
itself
that,
on?
but I think it's partially that, but it's also just the combination with how the code interacts with the visuals. It's complicated. It's hard for humans to do. And it's harder for AI because it wasn't trained to do that. Now, maybe at some point someone will train an AI specifically on shaders. Like you could train it, you could give it a lot of code, and then have it experiment and see what the visual outputs are like.
Mm.
And it could possibly like develop an intuition there. I'm just not very confident that it can go that far with that. I don't know. I think that as of now, I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen original thinking. Um, so you could maybe use AI to kind of speed up the process, but you're still going to need um, you need a head visionary that understands the overall complexity of the code. It's good. AI is good as like a generalist, but not as a specialist.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the a lot of visuals that we've seen today from your work and others. I mean, just the amount of all the inspiration, or for lack of a better word, that is needed to come up with all of these different ideas. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, I want it to tessellate, or I want it to be infinite, or I want it to be this, or I want it to
Hmm.
be that. But
Hmm.
all the little finer points, like for instance, for this
Absolutely.
one here, to make sure that it goes at a straight line and doesn't veer off into like left or right or what have you.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
you have to be very intentional with that.
Right. And every effect that I have, if I broke it down into like a list of the components that are required to build it, it would be hard to summarize. Like there are a lot of steps to it. Um, and at a glance it might not look like that much, but yeah, there's a lot going on. So I think AI is pretty good when it has like a linear path that it knows it's going down. It has a
Hmm.
clear vision for what it's going for, and then it tries to achieve that. And then it really struggles with branching paths. Um, where there are lots of possibilities, lots of different directions that it can go in. And that, yeah, with shaders, it's just that tenfold.
Very cool. Very cool stuff. So as we approach the end of the episode, how would you
Mhm.
suggest that anyone that is interested in this kind of work, or just wants to, maybe not make a career out of it, but just kind of play around with it and use
Mhm.
it for their own purposes, besides the
Right.
tutorials that you have, which we'll also include as a link in the episode, is there anything that you would recommend people do or avoid doing when
Mm.
going into this world? Like, assuming that they may or
Sure.
may not have a background in math.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a little bit tricky for me to try to advise people because of the uniqueness of my path. I started specifically with game engines, and I didn't really have a lot of resources, so it's harder for me to make recommendations. But one recommendation that I have that keeps coming up is Book of Shaders. There's a website called Book of Shaders. It's a great introduction to the concept of shaders, and it kind of walks you through writing your first, like a whole bunch of different things. And so it gives you a good overview of syntax and the concepts there. So that would be the number one thing for sure. And then just like you want to know why you're learning shaders. Like if there's a certain goal in mind that excites you, if you want to make video games, great. If you want to make your website look cool, great. Just know why you're doing it and then find ways to integrate it in what you're going for. I think it's really hard to learn if you're just basically learning for the sake of learning because you're told that's what you're supposed to do. Like you want to be excited by the goal that you're aiming for. And so yeah, look for inspiration. I think Shader Toy is also a great place to find a lot of examples, different effects. And then you can also find holes and areas that are kind of underdeveloped. Maybe it's caustics, for example. So you could find some niche where you have something. And yeah, so that's I guess that would be my overall summary. Don't get too caught up in the math. Math is overwhelming and scary for pretty much every. Like there are times, even for me, even though I do time, where I just kind of my head goes fuzzy because there's a lot of math. Like
Mm.
that just happens. So that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Take your time with it. Take a step back. Focus on the main goal. Yeah, that would be my overview, I guess.
No, right on. No, that's as good advice as any. Because, I mean, yeah, just looking at your work, as I'm working on like upgrading both the stream for Outsider Supply and my own
Mm.
personal show, I've just been
Mm-hmm.
trying to think like I want to move away from just relying on these basic 2D scenes, and I'd like to create something that's a little bit more immersive, something that's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more eye-catching. And my initial instinct was to go into 3D development with Blender and whatnot, but now that I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning about this, it's like, well, this could actually save me a lot of time, because instead of trying to build a world from scratch, build an environment from
Right.
scratch in Blender, I could just
Mm-hmm.
simply use one of these
Yeah,
shaders, or,
absolutely.
or develop one of my own as the background. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like crazy and fractal, and doesn't have
Uh-huh.
to like go like this, because this just it's going to be overwhelming for the viewer. But
Right, that might be
something
much. Yeah.
something on a smaller scale, like even like a 3-5 second loop, um,
Yeah, exactly.
would
And
certainly get the job
um
done.
yeah, I do have a few. So on Shader Toy, part of the challenge with Shader Toy is you're focused so much on just like having a shader that is kind of eye catching that stands
Hmm.
out from the rest. And so usually they're a lot more visually the colors and all that. Um, but I do have some collections on uh, Twitter, for example, that are designed to be simplified. And even in my shader arsenal, the tag system. So you have these different tags, and one of the tags is minimal. So if you click the minimal tag on my website, like all of the shaders that will come up, yeah, you can see some of the shaders have the minimal, yeah, just like that. And then that will show you ones that are slightly less intense. There's probably something in there that shouldn't be in there actually now that I'm looking at it. But in general, like that's I'm trying to build a platform that allows you to pick specific shaders for specific purposes and have some that are good as like more casual background effects and then some that are more like centerpiece effects as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a little tangent.
Yeah, no, it's all very cool. So before we go, in terms of socials, people can find you mostly on Twitter or your website xordev.com.
Yep. Those are the main two. I do have an Instagram that I've been posting just about daily. So it's Xor underscore dev because Xor dev was already taken. And then I also have a Blue Sky, which is xordev.com. But those are my main socials. Yeah, the link tree has a few others as well.
Oh, beautiful.
But yeah, that's
we'll be linking all this in the episode description, so definitely check it out, guys.
awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for making the time to do this, because this is, I've interviewed painters, I've interviewed 3D modelers, people in varying backgrounds, designers, what have you, but this easily has to be like one of the more unique episodes that I've had, because I don't think I've interviewed
Awesome.
a single person from this space, let alone somebody who's actually worked for some big names like that. It's very cool to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a pleasure. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and yeah, thank you for having me. That was fun and new for me too.
Right on. So yeah, would you finally get the sphere on? Hit us up. We'd love to have you back on and
Awesome.
help feature that, because that would be really something.
Right. I'm gonna talk around and make sure that it's cool with them, that I can mention when it's happening and all that. So I got to work through the details for sure, but I would like to make a public post and see if I can invite some graphics people, do a little meetup maybe. But yeah, that would be awesome.
Right on. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Check out Xordev. We'll put all the links in the description. And yeah, we'll see you guys later.
All right, take care.